Why on web? Why on web team? I guess. So, filmmaker Ridley Scott calls superhero movies boring. This is about, it's about a day old at most, but I'll talk about it. Sure. Let's go right into it if we can. I'll do my best to present this to you. So he calls them boring. Martin Scorsese has a company, it seems, filmmaker Ridley Scott. So Martin Scorsese, remember, he praised Joker because one of his staff, who's a writer, uh, wrote for the Joker, screenplay for the Joker. And yeah, the same director who did The Hangover with Ed Helms, he did, his name escapes me right now, but he directed the Joker. Scott, who has two movies out this year, The Last Duel and now Gucci, this guy's in his 80s now. He spoke to Deadline and said, this is what he says, okay? Almost always, the best films are driven by the characters. And we'll come to superheroes after this if you want, because I'll crush it. I'll fucking crush it. They're fucking boring as shit. Their scripts are not any fucking good. They're not good. Scott says he thinks he has done three great scripted superhero movies, listing 1979's Alien, which is the masterpiece, 82's Blade Runner, which is great, and 2000's Gladiator. I'm not sure. I like some moments from that movie, but I wasn't really a huge fan of it. I like Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments. Those are like the ones with like Edward G. Robinson and Elizabeth Taylor. Those are like the gold standard of Roman movies. They're superhero movies, he argued. Added, so why didn't the superhero movies get this out of my face? Get that stupid advertisement out of my fucking face. So why don't the superhero movies have better stories? Sorry, I got off the rail, but I mean, come on. They're mostly saved by special effects, and that's becoming boring for everyone who works with special effects if you got the money. Martin Scorsese said the superhero movies are not cinema, comparing them to theme park rides. Scorsese explained in an opinion piece for a news outlet a month later that he grew up in a different time when franchises didn't dominate movie theaters and filmmakers took more risks. What is it Joey Diaz said, if you remember Joey Diaz?
They're eating my insides out. They're eating my insides out.
But why does the subject matter? Like, for example, so why is it okay to go see...
Because you're an adult. After 11, you take the hat off with the fucking propeller, and that's it with the fucking superheroes. That's...
Now, in some ways, I agree with Ridley Scott and even Joey Diaz and Martin Scorsese. In other degrees, I do not. But let me tell you, sometimes you do have to take out the fucking propeller, and sometimes you don't. When I was born, this movie came out. And this movie, well, I couldn't understand. My concept of Superman was the Bronze Age, which was the 70s to the 80s. The Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, I don't remember the guy's name. Not George Perez, but the other guy. The other guy with the four names. He did Superman. I remember getting a Superman paper bag for lunch, brown bag lunch, but it had Superman on the logo. And I remember the movies and Super Friends. So this was the breakthrough movie, okay? Before this, you didn't have shit. You had Star Wars. Before Star Wars, you had like, what? You had Forbidden Planet. You had Fantastic Voyage, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, some of those Irwin Allen movies. Oh, you had a lot. You had 2001 Space Odyssey. You had different things, but nothing concentrated. And then Star Wars came out. And then you had other stuff. And you had this one, okay? And this was like the breakthrough superhero movie. And this was really good. And I'll say that the Richard Donner cut of the second movie was even almost matched as good as this one. But this was the breakthrough. And some people could roll their eyes up at the sequels, and I do tend to do it. They made 4 movies. And the fourth was just completely forgettable, okay? The same thing with the original Batman, all right? Now, I've walked you through that movie, and it's the same deal. Like, the first was the breakthrough, but looking back, like, that was as good as it was. And Robert Wall, who played Knox for that, he made it clear, like, the first hour was like, whoa, right? The second hour was like, yeah, that's pretty good, yeah. The first hour of Batman Returns was like, okay, yeah. Second hour was like, what? Then you watch Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Like, what the fuck was this? This is not the same movie as this one, right? So you get into all these different types of movies. And then they try to reboot it. They try to make put it on a nice format, perfectly flawless format that would last forever, or so you think. You try to reboot the characters, try to give them a new direction. And you'll do this every 5 or 7 years. Maybe there'll be a gap, maybe 7 or 8. That's the rule. You wait 7 to 8 years, then you completely get a new actor, a new Batman or a new Superman. And they tried this, and they succeed or they fail. Okay, but I think genuinely that the initial movies are the ones that you care most about. The sequels are sequels. Wonder Woman. With Wonder Woman, you have new characters, new introductions. People just, I honestly feel that I would rather see a new movie than a sequel to a sequel to a sequel to the original greatness that it was. You can do movies about villains, experiment, try something. Oh yeah, Todd Phillips. Yeah, as I remember now, Todd Phillips, who did The Hangover and did this movie. You try a villain. Okay, you try villain stuff. You could try cartoons. It's more acceptable because you have a whole bunch of CGI. But there are some cartoons that tell really good stories. This is no different. You try with dark versions of the superheroes. This is not based on any particular licensed brand, but I thought this is good for a popcorn flick. Marvel movies, I tend to think Kevin Feige was smart in that he was able to connect movies together, but do you ultimately care about them? And I think the Marvel universe is almost as big as Star Wars, maybe even bigger, because you started out with The Incredible Hulk, which was a spiritual sequel to Hulk 2003, which is not related to the other one, right? And then once they showed Robert Downey Jr. and they had Iron Man, then it was off to the races. Start connecting this character, Captain America, Thor. You start once you get the Avengers, that's the breakthrough, right? The Avengers and then the sequel. And when they did Batman Ninja, having a different alternate reality of things. And even more cartoons like Into the Spider-Verse. I did a poll, and I think about 1 to 2 people voted for Batman for 2022. That's going to be the most popular movie, but I would dare say that The Flash is more important because it is the most important movie because it's just like Batman v Superman. Everybody remembers that, right? I mean, you remember Man of Steel, right? You remember how important that was. But also, too, you had Batman showing up. And a lot of people said that Man of Steel 2 should have been made. And I don't think so, because I think what Zack Snyder wanted to do was different. He wanted to have, these two fight against each other. And the reason was that it was trying something different. With The Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan didn't want to make 4 or 5 sequels. I mean, that was fine in the 70s and 80s when you had Superman 2, Superman 3, Superman 4, Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, or Batman Forever. But I think when you look back, it's like, okay, you don't want to do the exact same thing. Oh, he fights this villain, then he fights this villain, then he fights that person, then he does this. And it's like, can you actually make the exact same thing happen? It's like, or is it just lightning in a bottle? Or is it just, that time was okay, but now it's like, no. Because can people sit through 10 more movies of Chucky or 20 movies of Jason Voorhees or whatever? It's like sequels. I mean, as it is, the Fast and Furious sequels are kind of wearing themselves out. It's great to watch it maybe, but it's time for them to retire eventually, at some point. And even when you look at TV shows like Smallville or even Gotham, you try to experiment, try to take a snail's pace to it, like build up the characters or build up their career paths, even like Titans or Doom Patrol. Sometimes you could have movies that aren't even complete. They're just kind of spliced together. And then you try to correct it. You try to make it better. You get a fan base and they will put the proper movie out the way it was meant to be seen. So Ridley Scott made what? Didn't he make Prometheus and then the last Aliens? Was it Alien Covenant? People said it was god-awful. I don't know. I don't think he should talk too much. I don't think he's wrong. I think what I'd like to see more, and that's why I wrote Metal Men and Superman Legacy Art, because I want to see something new. The cyberpunk, futuristic stuff, you could put Batman in it, but I think Superman ought to be in it, because I like to see different things for these characters. I want to see different avenues. When Aquaman came out, I was amazed. I said, okay, I knew it was a bit comic book, more Jeff Johns cinematic looking than realistic. But I kind of felt, yeah, that's what needed to happen. You needed a colorful but courageous, semi-real aspect to Arthur Curry, Aquaman, the Legend of Aquaman. How did he come to be? And that was great. Then Joker came out, or Shazam, and then Joker. And then after that, of course, we had the lockdowns. Oh, no, that was after Birds of Prey. And I enjoyed Birds of Prey. I mean, that was the one girl power movie that I actually enjoyed and I actually had fun with. I don't want to see too many movies like that. I know there were some kind of digs at men that the movie took, but ultimately, one movie doing that. But I followed it from Harley Quinn's point of view, so that's why I enjoyed the movie. And I enjoyed this movie. Marvel, I did not follow. I didn't like the Avengers. My favorite Marvel movie had to be Civil War. I think what works, and Ridley Scott may not be paying attention to which movies. I think Ridley Scott's problem, and maybe Joey Diaz has this problem too, is you tend to throw them all in the same bin, right? Joey Diaz will defend Spider-Man too, before anything else. I think he liked the first two with Tobey Maguire, but I think Ridley Scott will just throw them all in the same bin. I said, look, if you're gonna favor, you gotta pick that one movie that really works. I think between Christopher Nolan's movies, Joker, and this one, these really work. Shazam, Aquaman, it's more of a teenage, younger adult group, but it still works in some ways. It's Birds of Prey is more for the feminine gay crowd that like that kind of movie. Wonder Woman works for everyone. Wonder Woman 84 works for probably no one, I think. So I think what needs to happen with these movies is that they need to do better. And I think by not doing Man of Steel 2 or Dark Knight 4 or Wonder Woman, making sequels for the sake of sequels. I think that's why I saw The Suicide Squad for DVD and Blu-ray at Target, and I did not buy it. The reason I didn't buy it was because I just didn't feel good about it. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. The only Suicide Squad movie I defended was Batman Assault on Arkham. I felt that movie, ending with possibly the death of Amanda Waller by Deadshot, though the ending, you can interpret the ending how you want it, was the best interpretation. It was only 80 minutes long, and it was better. The Riddler stuff at the beginning of that cartoon was cringy, but I did like most of what I saw in that. And it was a cartoon. Justice League New Frontier was pretty good. It was like a period piece. There were different avenues they went with this stuff, and for me, I am just more interested in seeing different avenues that superhero movies can go to instead of the same thing over and over. And I think Ridley Scott's definitely right about Man of Steel, because with Man of Steel, it's like watching a game of pinball, boom, 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 and watching the characters bounce around. Sometimes that's annoying to me, and I think Zach was probably aware of that. So when you get to Batman v Superman, you saw a little bit less, or the CGI was toned down. And in this one, the CGI is toned down. Even in the Protege, what is it, the Maggie Q, that movie, there's CGI in that. I mean, there is CGI all over the place, but it's in buildings and structures. So when you see something that doesn't exactly look familiar when it's shot on location, that's because they put CGI in the background. Oh, here are these skyscrapers that you didn't see that, well, no, it's over here and over there. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. It's not about the CGI. It's about, have you already seen this before? Superman's the breakthrough. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight was a breakthrough. And this was a breakthrough because Justice League, to see it, and to see the Flash going to different realities in live action, that's going to be a breakthrough too. So I roll my eyes up a little bit at the Robert Pattinson Batman because it's going to be good. It's not that it's going to be terrible. It's going to be good. Will they introduce anything new? We'll have to see. It's kind of like Gotham season 6, where you see all the bad guys already living in the city, and you deal with that. So I got one more post to make, and I got some important job interviews to attend to. So we'll see. Stay tuned.